Hello and welcome to our podcast. I'm Dani, and today Great.com talks with Ryan McCarrigan, Executive Director of Queer Lifespace. If you haven't heard of it yet, they provide evidence-based training in mental health services for LGBTQIA plus community, designed by queer people for queer people. If you're new here to this podcast, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Now, hi Ryan and welcome.
Hi, Danielle. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. We are looking forward to learn more about what you guys have been up to there. Ryan, I usually start with history, right? It's always important to know where who came from and how far has this journey been, because there is a lot of knowledge that comes with trying and trying again and then remodeling and moving forward. So, how was actually the founding of Queer Life Space?
Sure. QLS was founded in 2011. So we've been around for 13 years. I think it's important to give a little bit of history, though, because the reason QLS was founded was that another agency, a well-known agency called New Leaf Services, closed in 2010. That agency had been around for 35 years and had really become a fixture of the community in terms of affordability and access to queer affirming mental health services. There were four clinicians that left New Leaf after it closed and decided, the spirit of New Leaf had to continue in some way. And so that's why Queer Life Space was founded. So they basically continued that spirit at QLS, and we continue today, 13 years later. We've always been in the Castro district. So for those listeners who are not aware, the Castro is really kind of the queer beating heart of San Francisco and of the entire Bay Area. It's a famous queer nightlife district, and there's a lot of rich history there, and that's where our office is located.
This is really wonderful. And I think it resonates so much with the idea of designed by queer people for queer people, right? It's people that were doing an amazing job before, saw that the need was still there. We need to continue the work. So it's really, really beautiful. Ryan, I think one other aspect that's important here to us is to understand the unique challenges that individuals in the community are going through, and that
Mhm.
leads them to seek your help. So what's going on? Because you're very much focused in this, right?
Right. So, we're our mission is to provide affordable access to mental health services and substance abuse services, but really our primary focus is on therapy. And the reason we do this is because the LGBTQIA plus community deals with way higher rates of anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, right? Statistically, the community deals with these issues at a much higher rate than the population at large. And this is because of discrimination, marginalization, stigmatization, right? All the Asians. Childhood bullying, childhood trauma. Um, there are a whole array of issues related to sexual identity, gender identity, and rejection by family, loss of family, right? You also have higher levels of houselessness among queer individuals, especially those that are rejected by their family. So there are many reasons why we need to exist so that we can meet these needs and do so in a really targeted and meaningful way. And to that end, we say that our focus is queer affirming, culturally insightful care. Whereas at other agencies, at other therapy agencies that lack that focus, they might not have the same level of clinical training. They might not have the same level of service, really catering to the LGBTQIA plus community the way that we do. So that's really our focus area, is to address those unique needs of the queer community.
And let's dive more into the services that you offer, right? It's a vast array, as you mentioned, but as you said, you focused on therapy. But what is
Yes.
going on and how it happens, it's group therapy, individual therapy. Give me
Yeah.
some more detail on it.
Of course. Well, our focus being therapy is individual counseling, couples counseling, and group counseling. Um, we also run a really renowned clinical training program. We have an on-site clinical training program that's one of the most competitive in the entire Bay Area. We get between 80 to 100 applicants for that program per year. We can only take 8 or 9. This is a practicum training program, so they're still in school. They're accruing hours toward licensure in the state of California, and they have to do a lot of hours in order to satisfy those licensing requirements to become a licensed therapist. So in addition to those services, we're running that program for 12 months out of the year. It's a 12-month training cohort. And after they graduate from that program, sometimes they stay on as associates. Sometimes they move on to other agencies, but we give them that really rich training in queer affirming, culturally insightful care. In addition to those core offerings I mentioned, we also have some other programs. We have a program called Outlandish, which offers equitable access to the outdoors and nature. We take youth between the ages of 13 and 18 on hiking trips. We bring them to Muir Woods. They get to go on tours with park rangers. They learn about ecology, conservation, and they do this in the presence of adults who are role models for them and with their peers, young peers who they form social connections with and hopefully friendships with. We also have a program called Equity, which stands for Emerging Queer Artists in Their Youth. This is a brand new program funded by Pinterest. And basically, this is a 12-month program that combines free access to therapy with professional development and training and access to artistic resources. At the end of that 12-month program, they'll actually do a group art exhibition here in the city, here in San Francisco. We also have a program called Rural Youth Outreach, which is for youth that live in counties outside of the core Bay Area counties. And these are youth that might not have access to services through their school or who might be afraid to ask for help through their families. They tend to be in more conservative rural parts of the state. And so we provide virtual counseling for free to those youth. So, in summary, we have our core services, individual couples and group counseling, and we have our clinical training program, but we also have these other programs that service youth that are not just clinical in their focus. It's really about empowering youth. It's about giving them the confidence to really inhabit who they are in an authentic way and to form social connections with their peers in the process.
I think it resonates so much with the sense of the community, right? When we
Mm.
put people together, we make them go into different experiences, challenge themselves, then we can foster other other aspects of confidence, right? And it's absolutely a holistic perspective. If we look
Yes,
at all the programs that you
absolutely.
have, it's really about going in the very different ways we can. This is beautiful. Taking a little step back, Ryan, because one thing that I always kind of I keep thinking about is I feel like we have this advent of therapy years ago, and then more people got to talk about it, and then telling your friends, "Hey, you should do therapy." It's not something that people would be angry with anymore, which is a great thing. But I wonder,
Well,
yeah, yeah, that's the point. This is what I
you raise
wonder.
an interesting point. I do believe that there's still a lot of stigma around mental health because we immediately associate conversations that are centered around mental health with mental illness and with issues that I think kind of viscerally make a lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about. We live in a society where um, the focus is on physical wellness and exercise and being in shape, but actually the first thing that we should focus on is our brain, right? And our sense of wellness, and that really is rooted in keeping it tuned up and healthy. And so this is why therapy exists, so that people can talk about the issues that they're dealing with, externalize things that are eating away at them, whether that's in the here and now or whether it's something that they've dealt with and harbored for a long time from issues in childhood. So therapy is a wonderful thing. I think we all recognize what a wonderful thing it is, but there's still the stigma. It's still a pervasive stigma. And this is why, there's this hashtag, break the stigma, right? Talk about the importance of mental health, elevate this discussion more so that we can really wear away at that stigma. And that people who might be questioning, seeking mental health services because they're afraid of being judged or they're afraid of, what their family or friends might think of them, they won't feel afraid anymore. And they'll recognize that there are huge benefits from investing in oneself, right? It pays dividends for yourself in the future. So, we're really passionate about that. And I think it's a really key thing, a really key point to raise that even today, in our embrace of mental health, there is still a stigma that we need to wear away at.
Thank you so much for sharing this with me because it's a question that every time we have a guest here talking about, oh, we really tackle mental health questions or giving people opportunities to work on themselves. This is a question that I bring. Like, do you see the stigma? Is it getting better? So knowing that there is a hashtag, it's really a shown of how things are being dealt with now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing, amazing, amazing to hear, Larry. Now, looking at the future, what would you say that are the future goals for QLS? Maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 years. What are you guys planning ahead?
Well, we have grown quite a bit over the last couple of years. I was on the board of Queer Lifespace for a few years. Then the pandemic happened, and we had to adapt to that situation as everyone else did. We traditionally only provided services in person, but because of the pandemic, we went all virtual. We found it to be, a pretty easy transition to make, actually. Um, and we learned a lot from that. And in the process, we realized that we could grow and provide services not just to clients in the San Francisco Bay Area, but to clients in the entire state of California, which is where we're licensed. So we can provide virtual therapy to anyone who's physically in the state of California. So the plan is to keep growing. And in the last couple of years, I've been able to raise quite a lot of money, and that's been a wonderful thing. But it ebbs and flows, right? There's no guarantee that we'll get grants, and we're in a climate now where donations have gone down a little bit, but we still have a growth strategy moving forward. And so, really, to answer your question, we do want to expand more virtual services around the state of California. To that, to accomplish that, we have to take on more clinicians and more clinical supervisors. So that's something that we're working on. We're also working on taking aspects of our in-person clinical training program and productizing them. My main career is in Silicon Valley the past 15 years. I didn't mention that at the beginning. I've a long career working in technology. And the reason I do this work with QLS is because I'm so passionate about it. It's really, it's my heart. It's where my heart is. And yet I want to find ways to take that skill set that I have in product development and in tech and, bring that to the work at QLS and see if we can achieve bigger scale in terms of how we deliver services and also in terms of how we deliver our clinical training. So the plan is we will productize what we do in person and offer it as an online learning platform. This is something that's already starting. And we'll be able to offer these courses, basically learning modules and a clinical course online at some point in 2025 that will launch. And that'll include a community component, um, peer-to-peer learning. We're really going to try to turn that into a business model so that we have another vital source of revenue moving forward that helps with our financial stability. But it's really about taking this really tried and true award-winning clinical training program and bringing it to people around the world who do not have access locally to this kind of queer affirming, culturally insightful training. Therapists around the world are hungry for this. They want to work with the LGBTQIA plus community. They know that they need training. They know that this is one of the most intersectional communities. A white cisgender gay man who lives in San Francisco or New York has a very, very different life experience from a Black transgender person in Cape Town or, you know, Lagos or wherever, this is something that we recognize and that we have to take very seriously as clinicians, right? We have to meet these people where they are and recognize how different their lived experience is, and that requires cutting edge training in the subject matter. So that's the goal, to answer your question. That's really what I'm focused on over the next year is expanding services in California and expanding the clinical training program to help therapists around the world have access to this cutting edge training.
This is an amazing, amazing, amazing idea. I'm really happy about it. And I really like the fact you brought again the differences, right? The intersections that happen when we're talking about a white male gay person, or a woman, a black woman in a different region. All of those things do play a huge part. And thank you for bringing this to the conversation as well. I think it's really important that we highlight what we
Yeah.
are addressing here, right?
It's, one additional thing that I want to mention is that we're very aware of the fact that the space, therapy, mental health in general, has largely been created by, through a very singular white Western point of view. And, I'm not saying that that's totally a bad thing, but we have to recognize that that's the lens through which it's been constructed. And, we need to think bigger. We need to think about this, intersectional point of view, of course, in how we design and deliver services, but also in the way that we think about the industry and how the industry has evolved. There are a lot of interesting discussions about quote unquote decolonizing this point of view, right? And how we approach therapy and how we deliver services and how we train therapists and how can we be more inclusive. I find this to be so compelling and refreshing that we're having these discussions. We're certainly having them internally at Queer Lifespace. It's not just a San Francisco thing either. It's not just like a progressive view of the industry. We all know we can do better. It's evolving, and we hope to be on the cutting edge of these changes as the industry improves itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ryan, I'm going to make a quick diversion here to tell people to go to your page, right? Queerlifespace.org. They can get a lot of information in there. You guys have some resources as well. And we covered some things here, some bit of your history, your services, but everyone listening or watching us right now can get much, much more information, data, and everything you need to know through this page, and also get in touch, right? Is that
Yes.
That's how it goes. And with this, Brian, I gotta jump to the next question. That is, how can we get involved and help you achieve this vision that you're working for the next years?
Of course. Thank you. Thanks for asking this. Donations and grants are the lifeblood of our organization. We provide affordable therapy, and that means that we don't really make a lot of money from direct service fees because the point is it's affordable. Many of our clients actually pay nothing because they're unemployed or, they're in a position of financial hardship. And so, that's not a sustainable source of revenue for us. Therefore, we would be grateful if listeners would make a donation. Of course, we like to tell people that therapy starts between $30 to $40 per session, which is still a fraction of what it normally costs. And so if you make a donation of around $30 to $40, you know that that's equivalent to providing someone a therapy session. And of course, we would love if you donated more. You can do that through the website, through the donate button on our homepage, or through the pop-up that appears for first-time visitors. You can also mail us a check if you'd like, and you'll hear from me personally. I'll send a thank you. And of course, we would love you to come to our events. We're also looking for folks to volunteer at events. We have a lot of events this fall. So if you're based in the San Francisco Bay Area, we have our hike-a-thon that's happening on Saturday, October 5th. That's a big fundraiser for us. that's through the heart of San Francisco on the SF Crosstown Trail. We start at about 8 a.m. and then we finish around 5:30 p.m. at Land's End, and then we'll have a bonfire at Ocean Beach. It's a really wonderful event that raises money for youth. And if folks are interested in joining us on that hike or volunteering, that's another way that they can help out, that they can contribute in lieu of making a donation. But of course, we love donations. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ryan. This was a really great conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Danielle. Thanks so much.
And to everyone listening or watching us now on YouTube, thank you so much for staying for one more episode. And remember, if you liked it, press subscribe on YouTube and the podcast app. Share this with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers, with anyone on social media. Let's get the word around so we can help Queer Lifespace move forward and show the algorithms. This is an important thing, that this is an important conversation. And then it spread the words for itself. Again, we're going to add the link to their page in the description of this episode. So no excuses, click the button and see if you can help out. All right? Bye. And I'll see you in the next episode.